Folks always say the sting of betrayal cuts deepest when it's someone you lean on. I didn't really get that until I found myself parked at a candlelit table, all by my lonesome, glaring at a chair that stayed empty. Elena was supposed to show up. But nah, she was off at some club, giggling and cozying up with her ex, totally blanking on the guy who'd been rehearsing a proposal in his head all day. Thing is, this ain't just about her shattering my heart, it's more about how I ghosted her entire existence, wiping myself clean out of her life like she was a stranger. Years down the road, when she tracked me down, I played it cool, acting like I didn't even know her face, though I sold that lie pretty damn well. Let's backtrack, though, to that rotten night that split my life into before and after. I never saw myself as some swoony romantic type, but for Elena, I wanted to step up my game. It's not every day you hit a big birthday milestone, and after all those years together, it felt like the right moment to level up. I had the whole thing mapped out, down to the tiniest detail, a rooftop dinner at the Lantern, the exact spot where we kicked things off way back when. That place glowed like warm honey at night, with smooth jazz floating around and a killer view of the city sprawling out below. Elena ate that stuff up, the twinkly lights, the snug vibe, it always made her feel like $1,000,000. And that's what I was aiming for, to make her feel like the center of my world. For months, I'd been hustling on the sly to nail this night. I snagged the prime table way ahead of time, the one perched right on the edge with the whole city fanned out beneath it. I even rang the place up to guarantee they'd swing by with a slice of cheesecake, her top pick, topped with a candle, timed just right. The real kicker, though, was the gold necklace I had custom-made for her. It was understated, delicate, exactly her style, with our anniversary date scratched into the back of the pendant, the day we made it official. I pictured her wearing it daily, a little nudge to keep us on her mind. Then there was the ring. I took my sweet time picking it, a classic round-cut diamond hugged by a platinum band, nothing over the top, just timeless and perfect for her. I even roped in her best pal Clara for a second opinion, just to double-check I wasn't screwing it up. Clara was all in, practically bouncing as she sipped her coffee. "Ethan, she's gonna bawl her eyes out," she'd said with a grin. "She's been dreaming of this, she'll be over the damn moon." I clung to that hope like a lifeline. I stashed the ring in a little velvet box, nestled safe in my jacket pocket. Every so often, I'd tap my chest, making sure it hadn't vanished. Nerves, you know. Couldn't shake em. This was the night, man. Elena had been my everything for years. We crossed paths at a buddy's barbecue back when I wasn't even hunting for love. She just ditched a messy breakup, and somehow, we clicked at the perfect moment. I can still hear her laugh from that night, see her nose scrunch up as she razzied me about my awful burger flipping skills. We were tight from the jump. At the start, it was a breeze, late-night cruises, weekend getaways, yakking till dawn about nothing and everything. She was sharp, hilarious, the type who could brighten a room without breaking a sweat. And damn, she was a knockout, long chestnut hair, those warm brown eyes, a smile that'd knock me flat. I wasn't big on fate, but with Elena, it felt like the stars just lined up. Sure, we hit bumps, every couple does. She could dig her heels in, and sometimes she'd zone out, forgetting to ping me back or leaving me hanging on plans. But it never felt like a deal-breaker. We always patched it up. That's love, ain't it? That's why this night meant the world to me. I wanted her to see I wasn't messing around, that I was dreaming of a future with her name on it. Not just coasting, but all in. So I spent the day triple-checking every detail. Knocked off work early, went home, scraped the scruff off my face, and threw on that navy blazer she always said made me look sharp. Even got my shoes buffed up, just to seal the deal. Elena had been out all afternoon, nail appointment with Clara, she said, which was perfect, gave me space to get everything locked in. At 6 sharp, I dialed her up. "Hey, gorgeous, you about ready?" She chuckled, sounding winded. "Almost, Ethan, I lost track of time." "I'll hustle, promise." I grinned, shaking my head. Catch you soon. I snagged the gift bag with the necklace, patted my pocket for the ring one last time, and bolted out the door. The drive to the lantern was smooth as butter, the sun dipping low, painting everything in this soft orange haze. It was one of those crisp spring nights, chilly but not brutal, perfect for sitting outside. Pulling into the lot, I felt the adrenaline kick in. This was it. In a couple hours, life was gonna flip upside down. I tossed my keys to the valet, tugged my jacket straight, and strolled inside. The host clocked me right off the bat. "Mr. Carter, your spot's all set." I gave him a nod, trailing him through the dim dining room. The lantern was just like I remembered, cozy lights, classy but chill, the buzz of hushed chats and clinking glasses mixing with that soft jazz hum. Our table was spot on, tucked in the corner with the city twinkling out front. I plopped down, fingers brushing the velvet box in my pocket. Now it was just a waiting game. There I was, eyeballing that empty seat across from me, trying to keep the twist in my gut from tightening up too bad. The place was buzzing, soft chuckles, forks tapping plates, quiet talks weaving through the jazzy background tunes. It was picture perfect, the kind of joint Elena went nuts for, flickering candles, huge windows framing the city, waiters rocking crisp white shirts. Classy, but not uptight, elegant without the fuss. I picked this spot for a reason, it was ours. But she wasn't here. I flicked my wrist to check the time, 7:30 on the dot. Elena was running late. That wasn't exactly breaking news, she always had some last-minute thing to fuss over, like a quick makeup tweak or one more glance in the mirror before bolting out the door. Early on, it used to rile me up something fierce, but over time, I just shrugged it off and went with the flow. I drummed my fingers on the table, scoping out the restaurant. The waiter had already swung by twice, asking if I was ready to order, and both times I brushed him off with a grin, saying my date was still on her way. By 7:45, I shot her a text, "You good? I'm here at the table, dying to see you." Kept it light, didn't want to sound like a nag. Maybe she'd lost track of the clock, or traffic was a mess, could happen, right? Minutes ticked by, no reply. I told myself to chill out. Could be she was behind the wheel, phone out of reach. Or maybe she was circling the lot for a parking spot. I fiddled with the forks in front of me, smoothed out the napkin on my lap, and tried to hush that little nag in my head muttering that something was off. The waiter strolled over again, his face a blank slate, all professional-like. "How about a drink to kick things off while you wait?" I gave him a nod. "Whiskey, straight up." He flashed a tight smile, scribbled it down, and hustled off. 8 o'clock hit, no word, no buzz from my phone. I yanked it out and stared at the screen, half expecting I'd missed something. Nada. Took a deep breath to keep my cool. Elena wasn't the type to flake on something this big. It was her damn birthday, after all. She'd been yapping about this milestone for weeks, going on about making it a blast, celebrating it right. This wasn't just some random dinner. This was the night. I sipped my whiskey slow, letting that warm burn sink into my chest. I wasn't pissed, not quite, just baffled. Dialed her number. It rang a handful of times, then her voicemail kicked in, all perky and sassy. "Hey, it's Elena. Probably out being fabulous, so drop a message." I cut the call without a word. Now my stomach was knotting up so tight I felt queasy. My fingers tapped a restless beat on the table, my brain spinning through every what if. Car trouble? Dead battery? Some random curveball she couldn't warn me about yet? Sure, maybe. By 8:15, the place was picking up steam, more couples filing in, claiming the empty spots around me. The crew at the next table was cracking up, clinking glasses for some toast I didn't catch. The waiter shot me a quick look, and this time I swore I saw a hint of "poor guy" in his eyes. A flush of shame crept up my neck. She wasn't showing. Deep down, I knew it, I just didn't know why. Still, I wasn't ready to bounce. Fired off another text, short and sweet, "You alright?" Crickets. I waved the waiter down. "Hey, can I settle up?" He paused, like he was debating whether to double-check, then nodded. "Sure thing, sir." When he dropped the bill, I already had cash ready, didn't want to drag out the awkward card-waiting dance. Lingered a bit longer, staring at my untouched plate, the whiskey glass now a sad, empty shell. Then I caved, pulled out my phone, and scrolled through social media. That's when it hit me like a freight train. I sat there, thumb hovering over my screen, stuck in place. Just wanted a quick peek, maybe Elena had tossed up a post, a clue about where she was or why she'd ghosted me. Wasn't expecting a bombshell, but as soon as the feed loaded, my gut plummeted. Top of the list was a live story from Vanessa, one of our shared buddies, a shaky video of some club, neon light strobing, bass thumping loud enough to rattle my phone. Started off tame, just folks dancing, glasses clinking, laughs bouncing around. Then the camera swung, and I damn near choked. There she was, Elena, spinning under those flashing lights, laughing her head off, cocktail in hand, head thrown back with this big, wild grin. She was glowing, like the world couldn't touch her. And right there, hands parked on her waist, was Julian, her ex. A cold, heavy ache slammed into my chest. Took me a sec to wrap my head around it, to believe my own eyes. My Elena, swaying with Julian like it was no big deal, like she hadn't just ditched our night, like I wasn't sitting here with a ring burning a hole in my pocket. I swallowed hard, my fingers clamping tighter around my phone. This wasn't some blurry mix-up. This wasn't a fluke. She didn't forget, she picked this. The camera shifted, zooming in clearer. Julian leaned close, muttering something in her ear. Elena beamed, turning into him, her hand brushing his chest. Something in me twisted up tight. I'd never been the jealous sort, never got all territorial or paranoid, but this? This was a gut punch. This was betrayal. I sat there, frozen, watching her move to the beat, Julian's hand still glued to her hips, steering her like he owned the dance floor. Then it clicked, she was rocking that black dress, the low-back one she'd asked me about earlier that week, wondering if it'd work for our dinner. She'd planned this whole damn thing. My breath came out shaky, my pulse hammering in my ears. Wanted to look away, shut it off, scrub that picture from my brain, but I couldn't peel my eyes off it. Just kept staring. Vanessa's camera zeroed in as Elena spun around, her face lighting up the frame. She wasn't just buzzed or caught up in the vibe, she looked free, like nothing was weighing her down, like I didn't even register in her universe. My jaw locked tight. This wasn't a slip-up. She wasn't running late or stuck somewhere. She'd blown me off, on her birthday, on our night, for him. I let out a long, ragged breath, trying to make sense of it all, but my heartbeat was drowning out everything else. Felt like an idiot, a total chump. All this, the fancy reservation, the necklace, that damn ring, it was a waste. While I'd been sitting here, picturing the second I'd drop to one knee and ask her to be mine forever, she'd been out there with him. Finally, I blew out a breath, flipped my phone off, and slapped it face down on the table. For a beat, I just sat there, eyeballing the candle flickering on the table, its little flame dancing like it didn't give a damn that my whole life had just flipped upside down. I felt hollowed out, not ready to blow a fuse yet, just drained, like someone had socked me in the stomach and I hadn't caught up to the hurt. The waiter popped up beside me again, his tone all cautious. "Sir, do you want—" "Nope," I cut him off, shoving my chair back so fast it screeched across the floor. My jaw locked tight, and a cold, jagged pulse started hammering through me. No way was I gonna sit in my car like some sad sack, glued to my phone, while the woman I'd been ready to pop the question to was out there throwing herself at another dude. Hell no, I was tracking her down. I needed to look her dead in the eyes and make damn sure she got how much she'd just torched. The drive to the club's a blur, my hands were clamped on the wheel, knuckles white, and my jaw was sore from grinding my teeth. That video kept replaying in my head, Elena cracking up, swaying like she owned the place, Julian's hands parked on her waist like he belonged there. It wasn't far from the restaurant, just a quick haul, but I swear I pulled into that lot in record time. Killed the engine, hopped out, didn't even glance around. The bass from inside was thumping through the ground, syncing up with the rage bubbling in my chest. I didn't have a clue what I'd do when I saw her, grill her for answers, demand she explain, or just stand there like a chump waiting for a lie. Didn't matter. I was going in hot. The bouncer didn't bat an eye as I breezed past, he was too busy wrangling a pack of giggling girls stumbling their way in. Soon as I crossed the threshold, the heat and noise slammed me, music blasting, bodies crammed tight, neon lights strobing wild across the room. The air reeked of sweat, spilled booze, and tacky perfume. I swept my eyes over the crowd, gut churning, and there she was, Elena, smack in the middle of the dance floor, tangled up with Julian. Her arms were slung around his shoulders, his hands glued to her hips. She was beaming, totally lost in it, like I didn't even register on her radar. Something in me cracked wide open. I shoved through the crowd, not giving a damn who I knocked into. Some guy grumbled a curse as I elbowed past, but it barely hit my ears. Elena clocked me when I was a few steps away. Her laugh died, her smile wobbled, and I caught a flash in her eyes, shock, maybe guilt, maybe panic. Julian spun around too, his face sliding from, "What's up," to this smug little smirk, like he was betting I'd lose it, like this was all a big joke to him. I didn't open my mouth. Just yanked out my phone, tapped it awake, and held it up for Elena to see. Vanessa's video rolled, the same one I'd stared at back at the restaurant, Elena giggling, Julian's hands all over her, the way she melted into him like it was second nature. I watched her watch it. Her eyes bugged out, her lips split apart, her whole frame went rigid. She stammered, but that was it. Julian dropped his grip, easing back a step, like he wanted no piece of the storm brewing. Elena gulped, giving it another shot. "Ethan, it's not," I stayed quiet, just held her gaze. She licked her lips, shifting her weight. "It was nothing, I swear." I let out a slow breath, the kind you take to keep from flipping your lid. "Nothing, huh?" I echoed, voice flat, too calm. She nodded fast, reaching for my arm. "Just got swept up, that's all." Dumb move. I wasn't thinking straight. I dodged her touch, stepping back. Her face crumpled. "Ethan, come on," I didn't. "I was gonna ask you to marry me tonight." The words slipped out softer than I meant, but they hit like a sledgehammer. Elena went still. Julian tensed up. The club kept thumping, folks laughing, chatting, grooving like the world hadn't just stopped. Her face went ghost white, mouth hanging open, no sound coming out. I gave a slow nod, like I was locking it in for myself. "Yup," I said, hand dipping into my jacket, brushing that velvet box one last time. "Had the ring right here. Whole thing planned to a T." She sucked in a shaky breath. "Ethan, but I was over it." Whatever excuse she was scrambling for, whatever plea she was about to throw my way, I wasn't biting, not when there was nothing left to salvage. I brushed past her, past Julian, past the whole damn mess, and marched out. Didn't head straight home after bailing on the club. Just drove for a while, no plan, no endpoint, just me, the road, and the low rumble of my engine. My hands squeezed the wheel harder than they needed to, my head a jumbled pile of crap I couldn't sort out. The fire in my gut had fizzled out somewhere along the way, leaving something icy and sharp in its place. I wasn't gonna scream. Wasn't gonna fight. Wasn't gonna sit around for whatever lame story Elena cooked up when she finally grew a spine to face me. I was done, plain and simple. When I rolled into my driveway, the call was already set in stone. No waffling, no second thoughts. I was wiping her out of my life. Stepped into the house, my house, and for the first time, it didn't feel like ours anymore. Always been mine, truth be told. Bought it before she ever came along. Covered every mortgage payment, fixed every leak, redid every room. She moved in a couple years into us dating, but never chipped in a cent. Her name wasn't on the deed, she had no stake in it. I locked the door behind me and let out a long breath, soaking in the quiet. Headed straight for the bedroom and snagged a suitcase. Started packing her stuff, quick and no nonsense, clothes first, every dress, every hoodie, every pair of jeans she'd left slung over the chair instead of hung up. Chuck her shoes in next, not bothering to pair them up. Then hit the bathroom, her hairbrush, her makeup stash, that fancy shampoo she swore was worth the price. Left the photos alone, though, the framed shots of us on trips, at weddings, with family. Kept them on the shelves. Let her see the gaps where her spot in my life used to sit. I snagged another suitcase to pack up the rest of her stuff, her laptop, those books she never bothered putting back on the shelf, and all the little knickknacks she'd sprinkled around the house over the years like some kinda chaotic decorator. By the time I finished stuffing it all in there, the place already felt less heavy, like a weight I didn't even know I was carrying had lifted. I zipped that bag closed with a satisfying tug, hauled both suitcases out to the front porch, and lined them up nice and tidy next to the door. Then I got to work swapping out the locks. I moved fast, like a man on a mission, replacing the old deadbolts with a shiny new set I'd picked up ages ago and stashed in the garage, never thinking I'd need them. It wasn't a big deal, just a quick job, really. When I tightened that last screw, the house was mine again, locked up tight, no chance for her to waltz back in, no way for her to patch things up. I stood out there on the porch for a good while, just staring down at those suitcases like they were some kind of monument. That heaviness in my chest. It wasn't rage anymore, and it sure as hell wasn't sorrow. It was like a cool wave of relief washing over me. I turned around, stepped back inside, locked my new door behind me, and headed straight for bed. I didn't sit up waiting for her, didn't pick up the phone to call, didn't give a damn. The sun was just peeking over the horizon when I rolled out to the hardware store and grabbed a "for sale" sign. Didn't even hesitate, just saw it, bought it, done. Elena had poisoned this place, turned it into something I couldn't stand to live in anymore. I wasn't about to waste my energy trying to scrub her out of it and make it feel right again. I drove back, hopped out onto the front lawn, and jammed that sign into the dirt like I was staking a claim. Then I went inside, brewed myself a strong cup of coffee, and sat down to wait. She pulled up not long after. I spotted her car through the front window as it crawled into the driveway, lurching a bit like she'd stomped the brakes too hard. For a second, she just sat there, frozen, hands locked on the wheel, staring at the house like it might bite her. Then she eased out, real slow. She looked like hell, hair all tangled up, makeup smeared across her face like she hadn't bothered washing off last night's mess. She still had on that same black dress, the one she'd strutted out into the club, the one she'd been wearing while tangled up with him. I kept my eyes on her as she shuffled toward the porch, her steps wobbly and unsure. She scanned around, and her gaze hit the suitcases first. You could see it play out on her face, puzzlement, then a dawning "oh crap" moment, then full-on panic. She bolted to the door, fumbling in her purse, yanking out her key like it was a lifeline. Then she stopped dead. I swear I could almost hear her breath catch when she clocked the new locks. She shoved the key in anyway, jamming it, twisting it, yanking it out, trying over and over. Nothing worked. Her shoulders went stiff. She knocked once, light and timid, then pounded harder the second time. "Ethan," she called out, her voice shaking just a little, like she already knew the answer. "Ethan, you in there?" I was in there, sure, but I didn't say a word. She banged on the door again. "Ethan, come on, please, just open up. Can we talk about this?" I took a slow, easy sip of my coffee, watching her from the window, feeling nothing but a steady calm. Elena leaned in, pressing her forehead against the door, her breathing all ragged. Then, get this, she actually kissed the damn wood, like smooching the door was gonna magic it open or tug at my heartstrings. She let out a wobbly sob, pulling back a bit, her hand flat against the frame. "Please," she whispered, barely loud enough to hear. "I'm sorry, alright? I screwed up bad. Just let me in, please." I gazed down at my coffee mug, giving it a little swirl, watching the dark liquid dance around. I thought back to all those late nights I'd stayed up waiting for her to stumble home, all the times I'd shoved my own wants aside to keep her smiling, all the years I'd poured into loving her. No. She was just some stranger making a scene on my porch. I stood there, quiet as a ghost, until she finally seemed to get it, there was no undoing this mess. She stepped back, took one last look around, and her eyes hit the "for sale" sign. Her whole face just collapsed. She sucked in a shaky breath, swiping at her tears, then turned, grabbed her suitcases, and trudged back to her car. I watched her leave, and I didn't feel a single thing. I kept my phone powered off for the next couple days, not just muted, not on, do not disturb, but completely dead. No buzzing, no pings, no stack of missed calls nagging at me to check M. I wanted peace, pure and simple. I didn't need Elena's excuses clogging up my head, didn't want to hear her bawling or begging or spinning some new story to wiggle out of this. Whatever she had to say, whatever lies she'd cooked up, I wasn't interested. She'd picked her path, now she could deal with the fallout. By day 3, though, I got a little curious and flipped the phone back on. It didn't take long for the flood to hit, a slew of missed calls, a handful of voicemails, and a ton of texts lighting up the screen. Most were from Elena, a couple from her best buddy Clara, a few from Vanessa, the one who'd shared that cursed video online. I didn't bother reading a single one, didn't play the messages, didn't even glance at the call log. Instead, I scrolled right to Elena in my contacts, held it down, and tapped block. Clara? Blocked. Vanessa? Blocked. Every random number I didn't know? Blocked too. Then, just to seal the deal, I shut the phone off again and chucked it onto the couch. They could yap at the voicemail all they wanted, I was done listening. A few days after I'd locked her out, Elena swung by my office, only I wasn't there, 'cause I'd quit the day after kicking her out. I'd strolled into work that morning like it was no big deal, gave a nod to the receptionist, snagged my usual coffee from the break room, and plopped down at my desk. Then I just sat there, staring at my computer screen for what felt like forever, realizing how much I despised that gig. I'd been at it for years, endless mornings of pointless meetings, petty office drama, fake smiles for clients I couldn't stand, and pretending I gave a rip about deadlines that didn't matter a lick to me. I'd stuck around because it was secure, because it paid the bills, because it was the smart thing to do. I'd built my whole life around being practical, and what did that get me? Eating dinner alone on a night that was supposed to be a game changer. I glanced around my desk, at the tidy pile of reports, the company calendar tacked up on the wall, and the framed photo of me and Elena from some trip we took a few summers back. I picked up that frame, flipped it over, and slid the picture out. I looked at it for a beat, then ripped it straight down the middle and tossed both pieces in the trash. By noon, I was in my boss's office, sliding my resignation across his desk. "Ethan," he said, eyebrows shooting up, "you're one of our top guys, what's going on?" I flashed a tight smile. "Just ready for something new." He sighed, rubbing his forehead. "You know you've got to give at least 2 weeks' notice, or," he stopped, frowning. "Yeah, that's what I figured." By the time Elena strolled through the front doors of my old office, I'd already hightailed it out of there. Beatrice, the sweet gray-haired receptionist who always had a candy dish on her desk, shot her a puzzled look. "Ethan?" she echoed, tilting her head. "Oh, sweetie, he's gone, quit a few days back, cleaned out his desk and everything." Elena just froze, mouth half open like she'd been slapped with a wet rag. "But he's been here forever," she stammered. Beatrice gave a little shrug, her voice calm as ever. Yeah, well, he said he was ready for a change. Elena's jaw worked like she wanted to argue, but what could she say? I wasn't there, I wasn't anywhere she could find me. That night, she went digging online, hunting for any trace of me. She started with the usual spots, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, but came up empty. And not just, haven't posted in a while, empty, my profiles were flat out gone. She punched my name into search bars, scrolled through old tags, even poked around our mutual friends' pages, but I'd already taken care of business. The same night I swapped those locks, I sat down and scrubbed myself from every social media account I owned. I cut loose anyone tied to her, blocked Elena, blocked her buddies, blocked anybody who might toss her a breadcrumb about me. Then I didn't just step back, I torched it all, deactivated every last account, erased myself from the digital world. To her, it was like I'd never even been there, no photos, no status updates, no lifeline to reach out and grab. I could just imagine her losing it, fingers flying over the keyboard, that knot of panic tightening in her gut. I pictured her hunched over her screen in the dark, flipping through old posts and pics, scrambling for some thread to yank me back into her orbit. But she was out of luck, I'd slipped right out of her grasp, and she wasn't ever gonna track me down. Years rolled by after that. I didn't keep tabs on Elena, didn't hit up old friends for gossip, didn't sneak peeks at social media for crumbs about her life. As far as I was concerned, she'd vanished the second I turned that key and watched her drag those suitcases off my porch. But life's got a weird way of looping back around when you least expect it. I didn't go looking for what happened to her, it just landed in my lap like a stray dog that won't leave. From what I picked up, 'cause folks love to talk, no matter how hard you try to duck out of the chatter, things went downhill for her fast after I disappeared. At first, she played it cool, telling herself, her pals, anybody who'd listen that she was fine without me, that I'd blown it all out of proportion, that I was just too damn soft. She dove headfirst into the party scene, booze, clubs, one dumb choice after another, hanging with the same crowd from that night at the club, the ones who don't think past the next drink or hookup. For a bit, she kept the mask on tight, but real life don't let you fake it forever. She chewed through her cash quicker than she'd figured. All those ritzy brunches, spontaneous trips, and impulse buys she loved when things were steady. They turned into a big problem with no paycheck to prop them up. She'd always leaned on me, my gig, my money, the roof I put over her head, and once I was out of the picture, she saw how little she had left to stand on. She tried keeping up with rent for that swanky place she'd moved into after I booted her, but when the funds dried up, her choices went with M. Credit cards hit their limits, and her buddies, the ones still picking up her calls, got sick of covering her tabs, driving her around, bailing her out. Then Julian bailed, shocker, right? Maybe she thought he'd hang around, that after all those years he'd morph into some knight in shining armor. But that was Julian for ya, he was her yesterday, I'd been her tomorrow. Now she was stuck with zilch. After he split, it got uglier. She tried landing a cushy desk job, something simple, sitting in AC all day, firing off emails, but with no decent resume and nobody to put in a good word, those gigs slammed shut in her face. So she grabbed what she could scrape together, which wasn't much in the end. She wound up in a cramped one-bedroom dive in a sketchy part of town she'd have sneered at before, thin walls, clanky pipes that groaned if you cranked the faucet too fast, heat that barely kicked on when winter hit. And the job? No marketing gig, no office chair, just a kitchen gig, washing dishes. Those hands that used to swipe through spa menus, that once flashed fancy rings and clinked overpriced wine glasses, now spent hours dunked in grimy, oily water. She scrubbed plates, stacked trays, lugged trash bags out to the stinking alley behind the joint. Nobody called her special anymore, nobody gushed about her charm, she was just another name on the roster, another grunt clawing to pay rent, wondering where it all went sideways. Early on, she'd poke around, trying to dig up dirt on me, asking old friends, fishing for hints about where I was, what I was up to, if I'd moved on. But she hit a brick wall every time, I'd made damn sure of that. After quitting, I'd packed up and ditched the city for a while, moved to a new state, started over from scratch. I took my time sorting myself out, building a life that didn't have her fingerprints on it. By the time I circled back, I was a shadow, new place, new job, new rhythm. Elena could have brushed right by me on the sidewalk and never clocked it was me. She had no shot at reaching me, no chance to patch up the mess she'd made, and that's exactly how I liked it. But then one day, out of nowhere, something wild happened. Elena was slogging through another brutal shift, her back screaming, her hands chapped and stinging from hours in hot dishwater, her shirt sticking to her from the kitchen's swampy heat. The air reeked of fryer grease, onions, and flat beer, a smell so baked into her routine she barely noticed it anymore. She peeked at the clock, still a ways to go before she could punch out. Most nights, she kept her head down, powered through, counting the seconds, till she could crash on that saggy mattress in her shoebox apartment and reset for the next grind. But tonight? Something felt off, different. A little buzz started rippling through the place, a spark of excitement you didn't usually get in that dump. It kicked off when Nora, one of the servers, a kid fresh out of high school, burst into the kitchen, practically hopping like a caffeinated rabbit. "Oh my God," she hissed to a waiter, her voice dripping with glee, "it's happening." Elena didn't bite at first, restaurant drama wasn't her circus, but then another server swooped in, grinning like a fool. "So romantic," she cooed, all dreamy. "I'd kill for someone to do that for me." Elena set down the plate she'd been scraping, frowning as she wiped her hands on a ratty towel. "What's the deal?" she asked, half curious. Nora spun toward her, eyes wide as saucers. "Some dude's out there proposing to his girl, right now, smack in the dining room." Elena's gut did a flip when she heard it, a proposal. For a second, she couldn't budge, like her feet were glued to the floor. Then, almost on autopilot, she dropped the towel and slipped out of the kitchen. I reckon she didn't even know why she went, maybe she was just nosy, or maybe something heavier was tugging at her, something she wasn't ready to put a name to. She shuffled down the hallway toward the dining room, pausing right before the main area opened up. Peeking around the corner, she took in the whole scene like a quiet spectator. Out in the middle of the restaurant, near a table flickering with candlelight, a young couple stole the spotlight. The guy, tall, dark-haired, jittery but grinning, was down on one knee, a little velvet box cracked open in his hands like a treasure chest. The girl gasped, hands shooting up to cover her mouth like she couldn't believe it. The whole place went dead quiet, every pair of eyes glued to them. He murmured something low and sweet, just for her ears, and after a beat, she nodded. "Yes," she whispered, barely loud enough to hear. Then the room exploded, waiters clapped, folks at the tables hooped, and some joker in the back let out a sharp whistle. The couple hugged tight, her brushing tears away, him sliding that shiny ring onto her finger. Elena stood there like a statue, eyes locked on them, memories crashing over her, the restaurant glow, the candles, that little box. It hit way too close to home, like a ghost of what could have been. Her chest started thumping hard, and she took a shaky step back, fingers clutching the doorway for balance. That's when she spotted me. I was parked over by the bar, watching the proposal with a small, easy smile, like I knew how this story went. I looked sharp, better than she'd probably pictured me. My hair was trimmed up, my face a little more chiseled, like the years had polished me instead of grinding me down. I was kicked back, comfortable, like I owned the joint. And I wasn't flying solo. A woman sat next to me, chuckling softly as she nudged into my shoulder. She was a knockout, classy but laid back, the kinda gorgeous that didn't need a megaphone. Her hand rested light on my arm, fingers brushing my sleeve like it was second nature. Elena's breath snagged in her throat. Her stomach twisted up so tight it felt like a pretzel she couldn't untwist. For years, she'd hunted for any whisper of me, and now here I was, smack in front of her, like the universe had hauled her back just to rub her nose in what she'd tossed away. I felt her before I saw her, that weird heaviness in the air, like a tug on an invisible line. I shifted my head a touch, and there she was, eyes big as saucers, face drained of color, lips parted like she was choking on the moment. She just stood there for a bit, like she couldn't decide if she should close the gap or bolt, like she thought I might vanish into thin air again. Then, out of nowhere, she lurched forward, shoving through the crowd, nearly toppling a server juggling a tray of drinks. Somebody barked a curse at her, but she didn't even blink, just kept her sights locked on me. I let out a slow breath, setting my glass down on the bar. "All right, here it comes." "Ethan," she croaked when she got to me, hands trembling like leaves in a storm. "Holy crap, it's really you." I didn't say a word, just sized her up. Up close, she wasn't the same, not the normal way folks change over time, but something deeper, worn out. The spark in her eyes had fizzled, her stance wasn't so sure anymore. Fine lines creased the corners of her mouth, not from laughing, but from years of stressing out. Life had chewed her up good. She gulped hard, fingers twitching like she didn't know what to do with them. She stopped, shook her head like she was shaking off a fog. "Ethan, I'm so damn sorry. I swear I never meant to." I cocked my head, staring at her like I was trying to figure out if I'd seen her before, like she was just some random face, which, honestly, she kinda was now. She kept rambling, words tripping over each other in a frantic mess. "I screwed up, all right. I was an idiot. I lost it all, Ethan. I lost you." Her voice cracked, and she reached for my arm. "Please, can we just—" I stepped back before her hand could land, and she flinched like I'd swung at her. Then I gave a little shrug. "Hey, lady, who are you?" I said, keeping my tone cool and even. "I don't know you." Her breath hitched again, sharper this time. And just to twist the knife a little deeper, I let out a soft, almost amused huff. "And if I did, well, you'd make me sick." Elena stumbled back like I'd gut-punched her. Her lips quivered, hands balling into fists like she wanted to claw back what I'd just said. But there was nothing left to scrap over. I let the quiet stretch out between us, just long enough for it to sink in real good. Then, without another peep, I turned my back on her and walked off.